So we want to hold on to everything because what's better than what we've got? Or as they say, better the devil you know than the devil you don't. And it's that fear of the unknown that stops so many people from finding because the mind will throw up excuses. It will throw up this whole, well, how will my bills get paid? Um, will I recognize my children? Will I recognize my family? What happens to me? And these are all games that the mind and ego are playing out with you because guess what? They took over the house, but you gave them permission. And it was something we were talking about yesterday, if it's all one consciousness, then the mind and the ego are part of this consciousness. And what was it that was prior to the mind and thought that gave them that power? And that's invariably what you actually are. So it's about taking responsibility for your mind, taking responsibility for your thoughts. And if you can take responsibility for your mind and thoughts, then invariably you're powerful enough to wake up as well. Because you're the one who created the seeking. It was your mind that gave this thought life. So the thing is this, there seems to be this kind of like whole, oh well, there's nothing I can do, there's nothing to get, and things like that. And yet there's a very real something you can do and something that can be God as well. If there wasn't, then any of this point, none of these pointers would have come into existence, and there would be no teachers or masters who would prescribe this, that, or the other in order to help you to wake up. And that prescription recognizes what you truly are, and that prescription is given to that which is prior to all of this thought and all of this mind. And in recognizing that, you see that there's a very real sense of power that you have. Not in some sort of James Bond villainy kind of a way, but you're actually more than you think. So you're more than the sum total of your thoughts or your mind or your ego or this story that you've constructed. And sometimes these methods are thrown into place and techniques are thrown at you as a way of you seeing the transient nature of your thoughts, your mind, and your ego. So yes, there is one side of the equation which says, well, there's nothing that can be done to wake up, it just is, and all this stuff. But at the same time, there is another part which recognizes the divinity that you are and the power that you are, which highlights the fact that, well, what were you before all these stories? What were you before you gave this idea of seeking life? Because at the end of the day, when most people, when they're looking and they believe there's an answer to be had, are really just holding on to two or three persistent thoughts. And it's about dislodging those and seeing that they are transient, and also seeing that you've given them life. Because remember, the mind is a tool. It gets a lot of bad press. It gets beaten up on. And it's something I've talked about in other videos as well. In this whole, so watching a UG video earlier on today, and he gets, this whole, the experience of a silent mind. And then he just kind of went, well, that's bullshit. And it's true, because what you find is the mind, in order to not go back to its rightful place, because remember, the mind doesn't die in here. I'm using my mind to verbalize thoughts and ideas that are coming in, that are expressing what needs to be expressed. That's part of an entire consciousness. The mind just doesn't want to be going back to this place where it is recognized and seen through. So invariably invents all these things like, well, let's still the mind, but we're using the mind to still the mind, and the mind is really going to allow you to still it. Yeah, that's really going to happen. So sometimes if we sit and we look at some of the statements and some of the methods and techniques that we're looking to, you'll see a lot of them are just based in the mind, giving you something to do. But then the true technique, the true method is always kind of pointing towards what you truly are and stuff. And that's unspoken, and it's in a sense of presence and energy, and something that's very, very intuitive, and not something that's kind of readily being put down. We were talking about the whirling dervishes the other day. And it's amazing the minute, somebody mentions the word Sufis, and no doubt somebody inevitably goes, oh, whirling dervishes. Now, Rumi, would whirl in ecstasy. I don't think he got a one morning come, well, I'm going to put it down as a technique here. But then people watching, who were still looking, well, if he's doing that and I can do that as well. And I've heard stories echoed in other traditions as well. There's a really good one about a Buddhist monk or someone like that, a monk of some sort, who, closed the door and ends up amputating his leg, taking his legs clean off, and everybody will, and he wakes up into life as that happens, and everyone else then goes, well, we've got to do that as well. the actual technique, the actual method is intuitive and it's constantly changing. It's not static because it's life, it's echoing life, it's showing what life is. So invariably most of your practices, the minute it's put down, it's generally accepted as a practice is redundant. And it's there to be let go of. And I see this across traditions. People slavishly following the same method week in, week out because my teacher did it, my teacher's teacher did it, my teacher's teachers did it. And then they wonder why they're not going anywhere, because remember, the mind knows you as well as you know itself. It's a tool of creation. It's at the same time it's helping you function and everything, and it is able to counter a lot of these techniques, which is why sometimes when you see some of the older sages, and they're telling stories, they're talking to a guy, they have very rarely prescribing anything because they realize that the machinations of the mind are such that it will always look for a counter. So as I'm talking, I'm aware of the fact that any of this could be taken by the mind looking to hook onto something and sort of like say, well, oh yes, oh that, yes, okay, well I take that. Like I always say to people, don't follow my words because the words are relevant, and yet they're totally relevant as well. And it's there that you're looking to just stop the mind so you can catch a glimpse of what you are. That's all awakenings are. They're just catching glimpses of yourself. But then it's a case of the mind comes back and goes, oh, okay, let me grab hold of something. Let me hold on to this. Because it's looking to not go back to its rightful place. But the way it's been taught, you've already put the thought into your mind that, oh, guess what? The mind gets destroyed. There's the death of the mind. And then the mind's going to fight it, you know what I mean? And you invariably don't want to be losing an aspect of yourself because you're invested as well. My mind helps me. It helps me walk down the street. It helps me do these talks. It helps me do this, this, and this. It's where it's at. It's my mind. I said once on a previous video, what you resist persists. The more you're going to fight it, the more it's going to fight back. And guess what? It knows you as well as you know yourself. So the thing is this, it's like, don't try to fight it then. Leave it. Let it do what it needs to do. And again, just like in a sense, just watch the flow, observe the flow, see how you're sitting with all of this. Because the thing is, this is seeking can after a while become quite subtle. And because it becomes quite subtle and stuff, what can actually happen is that you could be thinking that you're going somewhere and you're nowhere because your mind is saying to you, well, I'm close now. Or I've had a few experiences, or I've had some sensations in the body, or I don't know, something's, I feel my, and a kundalini is rising, or whatever you want to call it. Again, let it go. Let it go. I'm reminded of a young man who used to come and sit with me, and every time he had an awakening, caught a glimpse. Oh my God, this is incredible. Does it get better than this? Yeah, why don't you let it go and see what happens? And what you find is when you do that, not as a practice, but something that's naturally occurring, there's this constant letting go, then the mind or this holding on doesn't really have anywhere to hold on to. Because remember, everything must go. It's like a fire sale. Everything's got to go. Whatever you think, whatever you don't think, whatever you think it is or don't think, it's going. As I say to people, these talks are dying as they're happening. It's gone. Who cares? Videos recorded, it's all gone. See you later. Bye. And that's what you're doing. You're constantly letting go, because as you're constantly letting go of that which doesn't serve you, that which isn't you, you're seeing more and more of what you truly are. That's unchanged. That cannot be destroyed. That's eternal. That's whole, and it's complete. And in that sense, and seeing that completeness, that eternalness of all of this, what you find is that there, yes, okay, there is no death, there's no life, there's no nothing. There is just now. There's just here, and this whole play of life is appearing in this. However you wish to describe it, because remember, it's just a description. It's not any more valid than anybody else. It's just a description. It's just words that are being thrown out that need to be said at this moment in time. And it'll get uploaded. People will watch it. Some will like it. Some will hate it. Well, hey, that's the nature of the beast. You just continue. There's just an urge to record something. Great, record something. And where the trail goes, again, it's irrelevant. It doesn't really matter. If it needs to be scripted, it's scripted. If it doesn't need to be scripted, again, it won't be. But it's just a trail that's being followed, something that's just making sense. Who is it making sense to? Again, don't get caught up in all the linguistical stuff. I have so many people turn up and they're like, oh, God, wow, they sound right. It's like, well, look, I could say the same thing as you, and I could read that same book where you learned that term from. Now show me you, show me your true face. Show me who you truly are. Because in a sense, it's about stripping away all this stuff, not like the proverbial peeling back the layers of the onion, because that takes way, way too long. Do you know what I mean? It's about addressing the core issue. What's the core issue? What's the thing that's making this happen? Oh, because, I want to go home. I want to be free. Okay, let's address that first now. Now you tell me what's missing, and invariably what happens is most people go, well, okay, so there's nothing missing. Yes, but, and the merry-go-round and round around the garden happens, and eventually it's seen through. There's either glimpses, there's either here and now, or there's a very journeying. There's a very real journeying as well. It all depends on the person. It all depends on totally what it actually is. So yeah, stop holding on. Stop trying to think you know something when you don't. You don't. Leave it. Let it go. Nobody knows, um, including my good self. You know, I'm including myself in there as well. So let it go. Just let it go. Let go of that which doesn't serve you. You know, but not as a technique. Allow it to naturally occur. Again, that comes down to follow the trail. When you want to get caught up in the ideas of the mind and you want to get caught up in the emotions, that's fine. And when you don't want to, because remember, you're prior to all of this. And I think prior to all this, the thing that's being addressed is perfection. It's beyond all of this, and it's so much more of this, and yet it encompasses all of this as well. That's how amazing it actually is. So that's that for this video. I'm going to be traveling around a bit more now. So, keep in touch with me via this page. Also my website as well. I am hopefully the next couple of months looking to kind of start doing stuff overseas. So, as a couple of friends I've talked to, if you want, like to try and organize something, just drop me a line. It's always good to hear from new friends and stuff. So yeah, there's a lot of changes. For myself personally as well, moving away from where I normally am based and looking to be a bit more central, looking to talk to more people and meet more people because it just invariably feels right now. So there you go, that's what's happening in this story here. I will let you go now. Have a good one. Don't forget to subscribe. It keeps you notified every time there's a video that's released. And then that way, I don't get the email saying, hey, I didn't realize this video was there. Well, hey, guess what? You just subscribe, you'll get notified. So to all my friends, again, love you all. I love this whole thing. Love hearing from you as well. And it's amazing, recently watching people wake up to what they truly are. I've had some incredible talks recently and some amazing insights, and it just makes it all the worthwhile when people see themselves for what they are, and the story and the crap and everything, the bullshit can just drop, and you can just live and stop this whole, well, I think something's missing and I'm going to find in the next word, the next page, or in the next video. So yeah, forget that. You know what I mean? Be who you are. Be as you are. Be here and now if you really want. So yes, have a good one. Like I said, don't forget to subscribe, and I shall see you on the next video.